Hello everybody, this is a video about a problem on Leetcode, search insert position. Given a sorted array of distinct integers and a target value, return the index if the target is found. If not, return the index where it would be if it were inserted in order. You must write an algorithm with 0 log n runtime complexity. Not too concerned about that for the time being, just want to solve it to start with. What they give you is 3 examples. So what I thought was I would use these 3 examples to write my own unit test or pytest. If you see my previous video, what I'd used was the documentation from pytest.org for parameterizing tests. And what you can do is you can have a list of test data and you parameterize it here, and then you pass in the list, the target, and then the expected value, and then you do an assert, and you basically assert whether the expected equals what you've actually got from your function. So without further ado, what I've done is what's that problem? That's just me tinkering with my color settings. Right, so what I've done was summarized their question here, and then what I've done is I've copied and pasted these. In fact, it's only one list. If you look, it's the same list, but 3 different targets, and depending on the target you get a different index value, as you would expect. So let's close that and that. And what I've done with this is I've actually automated the creation of the directory structure, and I've written a bash script to create a new directory, prompt the user fill the name of the directory, and then it's created the structure using poetry, and then it's automatically opened VS Code for me. Anyway, before we get sidetracked, let's have a look at the solution. Now the solution, there's a typo there. The solution's actually fairly simple. I started using a for loop and enumerate, and then I actually realized I didn't need it. You just say if target is not in the input list, what you do is you append the target to the input list, you sort it, and that's your answer really, and then you just return the index of the target where it is inside the input list. So for instance here, this test was before I wrote the pytest version. The 6 would actually go here, so it would go between the 5 and the 8, so it would go 0, 1, 2, 3. So that would have given me 3. So if you're not used to this sort of newer syntax, all it's doing is this typing. So it's saying the type of the input list is a list and the type of the target is an integer, and this little arrow is saying you just return an integer. Right, so here's the test. This is the good bit. In fact, that line was from the pytest documentation. We don't need that. And if you've ever struggled with locating your class that you import, or your module that you import even, what you need to do is just keep it can be trial and error if you're just brute forcing it. You see here I've got the what I was trying to do was just import search1. So search1 is not in the same directory as my test, so what you need to do is you need to close that and close that. You effectively need to go up a level, so go up to app and then back down. Instead of a / it's the full stop, and as soon as it goes green and it offers you the drop down, you know that you're finding it. Test data. So test data here matches what I had in the README markdown file. So 1356, target 5, output 2. 1356, target 5, output 2. And target 2, output 1. Target 2, output 1. And then target 7, output 4 for the final one. So I've done 3 tests. These three sets of test data here, they get passed one at a time via parameterize, and then you actually end up with 3 separate test results. If you click on testing on your activity bar, so app was just the name of my project. Inside that you've got tests, so the whole thing's called app, and inside that tests, and then that test, and inside that test is this one, and it will show me 3. So under tests, test underscore find pos, test search, which is the name of the name here. So test search is the same as these 3. So we're running the same function 3 times and we're getting 3 green ticks. So if you've not done this with VS Code, it's quite cool because you just, it's all here and you don't need to, you can type it here just like normal. But if you just wanted to run a particular one, you'd have to type it. Whereas here you can just, if you just want to run that one, just click it. And it just runs that particular one. So I think that's quite nice. Yeah, so what I've done here with the test is basically the same as the here. So what they were doing is they were checking the time difference and the deltas, and then they were just doing an assert. So you always need an assert. So the assert here is saying that the result from the function, which is this function that I've written to solve this problem. So the test says that my result, or my 3 results on each occasion are the same as what's expected. So that is how to solve a problem on Leetcode at the same time making use of pytest and parameterized tests. So I know I've done a previous video on that type of topic. What I actually did was, as you're supposed to with test-driven development, is write the test first. So I wrote this test, and then I came in and started actually building up my code. And then I had it working, and then I refactored it. And when I refactored it, then I ran the tests again. So the reason why I wanted to use a test for this really is because when you put in your solution in here, it does run lots of tests. So I'm not going to put that in here. I could do, but we know it works anyway, and I don't want to start typing in this really small whip box, and it takes ages to run. So I'm too impatient for that. I like to take the questions and just develop them in my own VS Code and run them myself. So yeah, this at pytest.mark.parameterize. So you use that syntax. In fact, you can always use that line as long as you're passing it in some test data, a target, and an expected result. Just so happens that when you're on Leetcode, most of the problems are actually of this format. The one thing which writing tests first forces you to do is it forces you to return something. So if you'd just written this for your own sake, just in Sublime Text or something, you might not even write a function. You could just do a conditional if statement with if else and some print statements. But I think it's good practice just to write some tests, and you'd be surprised how many times if you do these problems on Leetcode, you might think that you've got the correct answer, and you may even have satisfied the 3 examples. But one I did the other day had, I think it's about 120 different tests. So, and again, what you could do is you could actually write some code to generate lots of tests. So you could write code to generate some tests to test your code, if that makes sense. Yeah, hopefully this has been interesting, and let me just show you one more thing before we go. I didn't know whether to make a separate video on that or not, so let me just save this as workspace. Save workspace as. Okay. What we'll do is we'll just run once this closes. Oh, that took a while. I don't know why that was. Unusual. So I've got a directory called code, and then I've made an automation script. So let's run that. Run in terminal. Give a directory name to create. Let's call it YT for YouTube video. New directory made. Creating a package app. This is using Poetry. It's creating a virtual environment using Poetry. Once I exit this, it's then going to fire up VS Code for me. And you will see it's created, again, it's sticking with app. It's created a blank test, which is what you get with Poetry. It's done the init.py files, which you will need if you do some tests. If I click on the test, you've got that there. Oh, let me just, so just quickly, I'll just show you configure tests, pytest, tests. I told it the wrong folder, sorry about that. You see it's it's installing pytest. That's why there was an error discovering pytest. It hadn't installed it. Now it's installed it, and I make sure I select the right button this time. I tend to look in tests. And yeah, there we go. So that example test would actually go green and work. Yeah, it's just testing the version. So there you go. What that's actually done is it's used a bash script to run Poetry to create a folder structure, and Poetry has also created a virtual environment. You can tell it's a virtual environment because if you're running ZSH shell, you can see you've got that in the bottom right corner. You only get that if you've got a virtual environment running. If I do exit and bring it back up, oh, it stays. I can't remember how to actually. Is it would deactivate work? Yes, there you go. So, do you see how that icon just below the bottom right corner, that's gone? So that's deactivated the virtual environment. So yeah, there we go. That's how to automate. If you want to see the code there, I'll just quickly show you that as well, and then we'll call it a day. So. If you're running a ZSH shell, which you probably will be if you're running Mac, unless you've customized it, or if you're running, I don't know about Windows, that's a whole different ball game. But echo, so bash script, give directory name to create, read in the new directory as a variable, original directory is present working directory. So then echo new directory. If the new directory exists, then say it exists and exit. Otherwise, make the new directory. Echo the new directory to the screen, change the new directory, run Poetry, create a new app or new project called app, change to that directory, run Poetry shell. Poetry shell will then create you a virtual environment, and then code space full stop, which then opens up code. and then you just need to press exit from terminal at the end because you've got a separate shell session running. So there you go, and that is how to set up a project automated. Thank you for watching, and just a quick, not really a rant, but so many people watch the videos, but I've got so few what was it, views from existing subscribers is so low. If you watch these videos, just it'd be good just to subscribe, and I think that just does the algo some good, because we all know what YouTube are like, don't we? So yeah, thanks for watching. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that. Yeah, thanks.